I love the Kalinago territory, I love the Kalinago people, and I really embrace my culture.
How the hell do we expect to survive as a communal society in a capitalist system?
We need to teach that history that have not been taught.
Welcome, guys. Welcome. It's 7:34 p.m. And I firstly would like to apologize for the late start. It was really beyond my control. Um, Technology happens, life happens, and I'm so sorry that we're coming now, but we're here. We're here. We're ready. Tamika is ready. We're gonna do this. We're excited to be on. Welcome. It is a new week. And I just want to, first of all, start off by wishing anyone who's celebrating their birthday this week a happy birthday. Specifically, I want to single out Samaj, who's celebrating his birthday today. So happy birthday to you, Samaj. And I trust that you had a wonderful day. There's a dog barking in my background, guys. So apologies in advance for any inconvenience caused. Welcome, everybody. Let me know where you're tuned in from. Drop your flag and country. Let us know where you're connected from and what brings you to our humble abode, so to speak. I'm very excited to be back on with you guys this week. We have two shows this week, one this evening, one tomorrow evening. So the one tomorrow evening is Run the Track and Talk. Tonight we got an exclusive interview with Tamika G of Grace Jude. I'm excited. Let me tell you all, I've known Tamika. My sister, she's a little girl. Like, I don't even know if I can say she's like shaking her head. She's like, yeah. Oh my God, I'm old. Don't. But I am so happy. I mean, first of all, thank you very much, Samantha. I see you, Samantha Corbett. Welcome. I see Migueli is on. Welcome. Grace Joseph is on. Good evening. Yes, but untag everybody. Let's listen. Anne is tagging everybody. Get on a board because Anne said so. Okay. Um, love the folks who are coming on. Thank you very much for showing all of the love. Good evening to you guys. Those of you on YouTube, those of you on Facebook, those of you on LinkedIn. It took me a little while. I don't know what happened, but for some reason my software disconnected all my platforms. So I had to reconnect every single one of them, and reconnecting them meant I had to get a sign in code sent to my email, and then so I had to connect them one by one. So I'm so sorry, guys, but we're on. I see folks coming on YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube. We are also on LinkedIn. So good evening. And I love the fact that we're on LinkedIn because the person we have on, I know a lot of folks on LinkedIn are definitely going to benefit from some of what she has to say here this evening. I already start getting messages and emails from people having questions. This is not an Ask Tamika immigration lawyer episode. We're thinking about it, we're contemplating, and depending on the interest and the sponsorship, we might have an Ask Tamika Jude show. Right? We'll bring her on once a month. You send all your problems, all your immigration issues, and she gives advice, even if it's once a month. Right? This is something that we were thinking about, and let me know if you guys are interested in having an apparently people are very interested in having a show like this because the amount of messages I get from people, I did not know it had so much people in America that will have immigration issues. America pregnant with immigration issues. Listen, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you very much for coming on. I love it. See everybody's tagging their friends. Tag all your friends, especially if you have somebody in America. Okay, tag all of them and let them know to come on board, come on down, and we're about to get this show on the road. Like I was saying, I've known Tamika since she was a child. Like she was a teenager. And let me tell you, she was an annoying teenager too. Like when I she's shaking her head. She's shaking her head. She's like, she's in agreement. I first met Tamika when I did the very first season of Q Talent Search. Tamika auditioned, and I believe she made it to the quarterfinals. Tamika, the quarterfinals, you made it. Yeah, or the semifinals. You made it to the semifinals. Just shake your head. Yes, yes. So I met her, and I've. Oh my God, this is how I met so many young people, and I'm so happy that they stay in touch with me. And I've seen Tamika blossom and grow. And I followed her. I mean, we were Facebook friends even before she went into law school. She went even before she went to do her undergrad. And I can say how proud I am of her. And all of her wins. And I mean, we have so many Dominicans doing such amazing things. All over the world. And this is what this platform is about. This platform is there to shine a light, to showcase them, to rally with them, to share in their triumphs, to inspire others. I mean, Tamika will give you her story, and I'm so happy to have her on. And I don't want to wait any longer. I know we already had a late start. So I want to get this show. Good night. Hi, Wilma. We want to get this show on the road. And I want to welcome for the very first time to my show, better known as Tika. We call her Tika every now and again. Welcome, Tamika.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you?
I am happy. Happy to be here.
You sound like you're nervous. You're nervous all of a sudden?
No. A little bit.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm so happy to have you on here, Tamika. I was talking about, how long I've known you. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, like I've known this person since they were a teenager, and it makes me feel old. Like it's scary, and I remember the first time I met you, you were an aspiring singer. You whatever. What happened to those aspirations? They just in the bathroom.
No, they're still there.
They're still, oh, just so you've not said goodbye to that, eh?
Not yet, no.
But you are now an immigration lawyer, and you were recently featured. I believe it was top 100. Was it top 100 or top? It wasn't 100. No, it was less than that.
40. 40.
Top 48 immigration lawyers in the U.S. You were featured on that, and when I saw that, I was just like so blown away. Like I know you've been always posting about what you do and stuff. And we're gonna get into your life and how the hell you ended up in the US. We're gonna get into that in just a little bit. But I was just so proud of you, and I want to give you your flowers and let you know, as a fellow Dominican, as a fellow Black woman, I mean, it is not easy in America with 3 Ks. And and for you as a Black Caribbean woman to be up there with like big name immigration lawyers, you deserve a serious round of applause. I'm giving you your flowers. You deserve your
Thank
flowers. You're doing amazing. You're shining, and you're not just shining for your family and for yourself. You're also shining for Dominica because you're a Dominican woman, and I know just by you being featured, you've probably gotten a lot of clients. A lot of people have come from they've come from the cobwebs, from the like Janton, and they've come out and really reached out to you. And that, I mean, essentially you being featured is merit on your part for the work that you've done, and your hard work has definitely paid off. And I want to congratulate you, and I really want Dominicans to understand why it's so important to shine a light on people like you, because You are an American naturalized, but your Lombwick still caught in Dominica. You're
Yes,
very, very much passionate about your people, right? And I'm sure at times you probably want to be in Dominica more than you want to be in America,
correct.
right? Because I know the type of person you are. And a lot of times, we feel almost like we're aliens in our own country because of the kind of treatment you get, especially when you've succeeded. And people shouldn't be worried about your success. What they should be is they should honor it, and they should applaud it, and they should promote you and push you, because you are the type of person, Tamika, that you go up and you pull people up with you.
Yep.
That is how I have always seen you. And I have no doubt that you've helped so many Dominicans. I have no doubt in my mind. And I just wanted to, showcase you a little bit, just before we get into the thick of things. I don't want it to be you coming here and telling us all your business. I want Dominicans to understand why it's so important to, to elevate you, and to give you a little daps and stuff, because they don't throw no big stone behind you. You can come back to your country at any time, but you're out there doing the most, and shining, and shining so damn bright. You're like a big sparkle. All right, big up to you, Tamika.
Thank you.
We're gonna get into it. So, Tamika, where are you from? Where in Dominica are you from? Because people might be wondering, like, "Hola, Sala where she come out?"
Well, I'm from Tetmon, Granby.
Come on.
Yes, I'm from Tetmon. Um, I grew up. Well, I used to live in Wall House, but actually went to school at the Child Secondary. That was a choice made by me, not by my parents.
Really?
No, my mother is actually a convent high school alum, and I got accepted to convent. And of all the schools in Dominica, I ended up at Orion at first, and I never wanted to go to Orion. So I eventually convinced my parents to send me to the one school that was not necessarily the first choice where they would have sent me,
Why did you want to go there?
because I just felt like my mom was a deputy principal there. My brother went there. My aunt went there. I had a lot of cousins going there. And I just felt like I didn't really ever really feel like I belonged in the Roseville schools per se. So,
Want to feel at home.
yes, so I just decided, I wanted to go to school in Granby. And it was one of those things where we got a lot of people saying, like, if your daughter has this much potential, why Granby? And then I remember my mother is the one who always said that a school doesn't make a child succeed. And I passed all 10 CXE subjects. My name was on the radio. I was a top performer for Pierre Charles. And it was one of those things where that actually resonated with me, in terms of it's not a school that makes you. And when I had to go to undergrad, I could have gone to other schools. I had A levels. I could have gone to London if I wanted to. But I decided I wanted to go to UVI because I had family in St. Thomas. And
Let's pull up. Pull up. We're going too fast.
too fast.
We're moving too fast. Pull up. Pull up, DJ. Pull up. Okay, so I want to go back to Pear Charles a little
Yeah,
bit,
Charles.
right? So you attend Pear Charles. You mentioned your mom being part of the school, and you wanted to feel more at home and stuff. What was some of the things? I mean, besides academics, what were some of the things that you enjoyed in school?
Oh, I was a member of the Dominica Cadet Corps. So I had fun doing push ups on that hot concrete. Just kidding. But I was a member of the Dominica Cadet Corps. I was in choir. I was in karate with I think I don't know if he's still a sensei, but at the time he was Sensei Shanna Robin.
Anna, yes, yes.
Shanna was my karate instructor. He was also my physical education teacher. So actually did PE for CXC. So I was involved in extracurricular activities,
So
athletics.
you were very active. So it wasn't just, you were not one of those bookworms.
No, books are boring.
So you went to school at, think, what are some of the things that you remember doing with your friends? I mean, it wasn't too long ago, because you're not very old. Like,
No.
people probably looking at you and they're probably wondering, like, how old is she? You're not very old, because if I have to count back, I don't want to give, because it's not it's I know most women don't like people to know their age. I know you're not very old.
No,
right?
still under 35.
Right. So I know you're not very old. Um, what were some of the things that you remember doing with your friends, like your childhood friends and stuff? Like I know
Well,
like a lot of teenagers, so quote unquote, the lime in Dominica would have been probably, going Roseau, putting up by the bayfront. Or like what kind of some sort of the things were you involved in besides extracurricular activities at school?
well, other than hanging out with friends at Cadet Corps, that was basically it. My mother did not really. I've never been to a Triple K jam in my entire life. Like, I was never a child that was allowed to go certain places. So when everybody said they're going to a sleepover by a friend's house, I was not allowed. Probably the most fun I had away from home is like summer camp or carnival camp. I did not really. QTS was my little way of escaping from him.
Yes, you did escape. You did escape because I remember having to like say, "Oh, she's with us." You know, I get those calls. I mean, I don't even remember your mom. I just remember getting the calls and having to confirm that yes, that's where we at. Where practice ends at that time. So, what made you want to even do something like you talent search?
I think I just always sing. A lot of people in my family actually sing, and it's just always been something. I grew up in church singing, and it's just something I do for fun. And I remember when Matt used to have that thing where he'd play the song and call and sing the song. For me, it was just to win those vouchers. Like, it was fun to win vouchers. I would stay there, I would listen, and I would see how good the people are before I call because I want to win, right? So
So
it
you've
was
always been competitive.
yeah, so it was always about that. Like, I like free stuff. So it was like, oh, I could get that for free. Okay.
All
But
I have
then,
to do is sing.
and then they put me on a stage, and then I was like, oh, okay, this got real.
It got real quick. It got real quick. So you participated in Q Talent Search, and I just remember you being this like vivacious, bubbly, like you
Every
were always like you had ADHD. Like you were always like wanting to be involved in everything. And I just remember you being so much alive. And then I remember you saying, Jael, I have plans on going to study. I'm going overseas to study. You mentioned you decided to go to the Virgin Islands, and it seems to me that family is very important to you. Being close to home is very important to you. So you chose to go to a university that was very close to home, as well as where there's family. Tell us a little bit about you applying. Like, how many schools did you apply to? Where did you apply? Like,
Okay, so after state college, I wanted to go to study right away. My mom thought that I was too young because I graduated from high school, I think about 15. Then college, I was done with college at 17 and
mm-hmm,
started teaching at the PHL secondary school before I actually went to school. I think I taught for about a year and a half before I left. I think that was when my parents felt comfortable with their only girl leaving.
mm-hmm.
I only applied to UVI because I never had any doubt as to whether or not I would have been accepted. So I applied and they transferred, my grades from BSc. So instead of doing 4 years, I could have completed my program in 2 years. But me being me, I decided I wanted to add more majors. So I was actually a music education major and I majored in voice. So I studied classical singing for about a year and a half before I decided that I did not want to do classical singing because opera I just felt wasn't really my thing, and my voice professor wasn't open to the modern styles of singing. So I dropped that, and then that's when I did criminal justice. And I think it was in summer of 2016 that I did an internship in Washington, D.C., and it was with an attorney. And I said to myself, you know what, this is how I'm going to decide whether or not I really want to do law. Because at first it was like, how am I going to afford this? Like, I cannot afford this. I don't have a fancy last name. Matter of fact, my last name is so rare in Dominica that I used to feel so sad going in the phone book and looking to see how many Jews I could find. There were only four in the phone book. So I had to consider that aspect of how we're gonna pay for this, and my parents played a very integral role. And my father told me once, "That is not your concern. You're not your own parent.
Wow.
We're your parents, and you need to follow your dreams. Because I kind of went into music because I just felt like I would never become a lawyer because I couldn't afford law school. So I
Wow.
just decided, let me just do music education. Maybe just, away from Dominica, I do the psychology degree and a musical education degree and just see where that goes. I
Mhm.
never really had aspirations per se of remaining in the US, although my parents had migrated by then. I was still kind of okay. Well, let me just do this degree, then I'll do clinical psychology because I always wanted to help people. I knew that regardless of where life took me, I wanted to help people. So with my psychology, I did my internships and stuff on clinical psychology, working with children.
Mhm.
And after I had that conversation, that come to Jesus moment with my dad, I dropped music and I did criminal justice. So I actually did two bachelor's degrees in 3 years, which was crazy because I added criminal justice, and I remember taking at one point, I think I was taking almost 20 credits. And my academic advisor called me and she said to me, Miss Jude, you're overloaded on credits. Can you handle this? And I said to her, yes, because I get bored with just 15. So I remember taking summer semesters. After I graduated, one of the weird things I did is I do not like to see C's on my transcript. And there was this one professor, I think, that gave me a C. And after I graduated, I went back and I took that again to get an A.
Wow. You were like, I'm not satisfied with that.
I was like, no, because I saw my grade was not supposed to be a C. It went as far as like, the registrar's office, and I'm showing them my stuff, and my grade was wrong. But then that professor had stopped working at the university and they couldn't correct the grade, even if it was wrong. I said, you know what, I'll take it again. And I did.
Wow. So what was it like in the Virgin Islands, like going to school? Like what was life like there?
It was not what I initially expected, to be honest. That was my first time being away from my parents, my first time fending for myself. And I think that was when I realized certain characteristics about myself that probably were always there, but I never noticed it before. So, for example, I have friends who would say, oh, I'm going to call my mother and ask for money for the week. And that was something I never was comfortable doing, you know?
Wow.
So, there were times where I got a job on campus very quickly when I started. You're supposed to wait a year before you're allowed to work on campus, but somehow I don't know. I guess I slipped through the cracks. I started working a little bit sooner. It wasn't for much, but I had to learn to budget. I had to
Mhm.
figure out, okay, I have this amount of money. I need to do this with the money. And that was when I guess I became an adult. I was working before I went to school. I was a teacher, but my mother and my father basically said save for school. So I didn't have to pay a bill, I didn't have to pay rent, I
Mhm.
didn't have to pay anything. So I basically just saved for the entire time I was working, but I never had to pay bills, I never had to pay anything. So I'm used to just seeing the money sitting in the account and looking all pretty when you add some more to it. I
Mhm.
was used to getting to the point of you looking at your account and you're like, okay, do I get food today or do I pay this bill type thing. So
Mhm.
I think I actually grew up after I went to school. Um, I did not have as much fun as I could have had because I think I just get hyper focused, and because of the amount of work I put on myself, I found myself doing work a lot more than
You
play.
sound like me.
I
You're
guess.
talking and I'm just like I'm hearing myself because I'm like I am like, boy, I should have done differently when I did undergrad. I should have done it. I should have gone out to more parties. I should have gone, and I never did any of these things. Like I could probably count on one hand the amount of social events I went to. So I am hearing you talking, and I'm just like, and a huge part of it I feel has to do with where we come from. Like we
Your
come from.
upbringing, yes.
Yes, like you feel like you almost have to overcompensate, but it's not that you have to. Nobody's telling you to. And I remember explaining that to a professor because she couldn't understand why students who come from the Caribbean would break it down when they get like C's.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because we are not allowed to get C's. where like that is not even in our vocabulary. Like it's
Exactly.
you're not allowed to get a C because a lot of us go to school. Our parents are the ones that are paying for it. They had to refinance their house. Some of them had to take out extra loans. Some of them had to have people sitting as guarantor. Like there's so much hanging on you finishing. Like you cannot screw this up. You really have to be focused and to the point where you're hyper focused and you're taking all of these things that have to do with school to keep you busy and you forget to have fun. Like
Yeah,
you
I was
forget to
going to
just
school and I would still send my grades to my parents. They didn't ask me for grades. I can tell you, I can guarantee. Like, and my little brothers are the same way. They're in school now, and when at the end of the semester, everybody send their grades in the chat, and it's just that type of thing of not even wanting to disappoint your family. You know,
yes.
I don't think my parents would have said anything to me if I failed a class, but it was just always so important to me to always do well so that they don't feel like, oh, this is a waste of money,
Their
that
money going to
I
waste.
just leave her in Dominica and type thing.
Tamika, did you feel pressured? Did you feel like, I mean, not that they were pressuring, but did you just feel pressured? Like like the world was like on your back?
I felt pressured because I don't remember if my elder brother started college before. I don't remember much about the timelines, but
Mhm.
at the time I was the one at school. And me and my younger siblings are closer in age. We're 2 years apart each. So there's me, the other one after me is 2 years, and then the one after me is 2 years younger than him. So I feel like I was always being looked up to.
Mhm.
And I wanted to say, okay, I went to school and I did well in school and I became something. And even coming from Tetmon, to be honest, even if a lot of people don't even know that I'm from Tetmon, I always felt in my head that every time I hear people say, oh, Grand Bay again, it was always in like some negative connotation. And
Mhm.
I wanted to be, that's why I don't tell people I'm from Wallhouse, because I don't think I'm from Wallhouse. My mother's entire family is from Grand Bay. My grandparents are still in Tetmon. I have family in Hagley, Highland, everywhere like that. So it's like, for me, I wanted to show that good things can come out of Grand Bay. And in order to do that, I had to stay hyper focused to what I wanted to accomplish, despite all the obstacles that were coming my way, despite the fact that in high school, people thought my mother was doing my work for me.
Wow. And you see, and a lot of these things, a lot of us Caribbean women, we carry all of this trauma. It's trauma, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
trauma you're carrying around because you're carrying trauma of what society thinks of you, what they expect of you, what your parents is expecting, and you have all of these things being thrown at you. You feel you don't have a choice but to be great, but to do well. And even though nobody's telling you you need to do well, it just feels like if you screw up, somebody going to say, Ikwe,
Yeah.
she that's crying herself now. Not she that feel like she was. It's like people are waiting for that moment for you to just crumble so they can say, I told you so. So you put yourself in a state, and I feel like you're talking about me because you're talking to me about yourself. And I remember how hyper you were, and I remember myself at your age being just as hyper. If I have to recall, and I think probably that's why I probably never shunned you, because I remember people around would always be like, "Why that girl kind of just behave herself now?" But for me, it was just like, "Leave the girl alone, like let it go," because I felt a lot of what you how you were what how you were I guess how I saw you was very much like how I'd seen myself. And I want people to listen to this, to your story, because I mean it's okay for you to want great things for people and good things for people, but we also have to give people some grace, give
Mm-hmm.
young people grace, because it really does put a toll on you when you have to do all of these things. And you essentially, I see like my white friends, like they have had such great experiences in schools. Like they can talk about getting um drunk, or they can talk about, I mean, not that I wanted to get drunk, right? But they can talk about those experiences for them as fun experiences. And then my experiences always had to circle around work, schoolwork, making sure that if I do the essay, I read it like 50 times because I want to make sure it's perfect. And we have to be so, I mean, I'm not saying this in a negative way because we produce such great, talented, phenomenal, exceptional people from the Caribbean, but we also create a lot of us, and I say us because I'm talking to myself, have a lot of mental health shit to carrying around. I have a lot of, because we're just coping, we're basically just coping. And you've done so wonderful, okay, so let's go back to US, to Virgin Islands. You're there, you're working, you're in school, you're doing more than you're supposed to. Yes, I got called to because they were like, do you realize that not very many students graduate, do a 4-year course in such a short time? Why you taking 6 courses a semester when you're only required to take 4, but I'm like taking 6 and even want to take 7, and is they're not stopping me from taking the 7. And 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 people couldn't understand it. So tell me about that moment when you decided that you were going into criminal justice. What made you want to choose specifically? Because that music education and criminal justice is like,
Okay. So my dream, I would say that my dream always was to do law. I remember when I was younger, I was always the one trying to, if somebody did something, I was always the one trying to reason with my parents. Like, I was always the one trying to defend. I was always that one. So that's why sometimes we'd be arguing and my brother would say, okay, lawyer. Okay, lawyer. Like, I would find a way to spin things. And I remember my bigger brother would say, boy, Tommy, that's a lie.
"Tell me guys some sacrament."
Because it's like I could find a way to explain anything. So
Mhm.
from since then, I think I just, and I had an uncle, my late uncle, Anthony Commodore, was an attorney. My state college was actually sponsored by one of my mom's uncles, Marcel Commodore in Antigua, who was also an attorney. And then at some point, my Joanne Commodore became an attorney. So it
Yes.
was like, oh,
Yes.
wow, that's something fun. And I would see attorneys on TV. I used to read John Grisham books, and it was always something I wanted to do. I also had a very, that's why I said I wanted to help people. So trying to talk about this is crazy. But I felt like in Dominica that victims of, and as much of my work now centers around victims of domestic violence. I just felt like there was not much support back home for people in those situations. When I was in high school, one of my cousins was actually killed by her boyfriend in Granby. And that stayed with me because I never wanted, I was like, I know I never want to be in that situation. I never want to be in an abusive situation. And at that time, the things I heard people saying, like, oh, why didn't she leave? And, I think he killed himself after, and people were like, I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
Mhm, mhm.
But people were saying a lot of victim blaming after somebody passed away. And that kind of showed me that as a community we really fail people. Like every time I hear of somebody talking about somebody who's in that situation, it's like people don't even understand that it's not something that people like being in that situation.
Or
They
they
don't
want
love
to be.
or they want to be. A lot of people feel like they have no choice. A lot of people feel trapped. So for me, I always wanted to, like, I wanted to be the voice for those who didn't have a voice of their own, to help people to get some sort of help. So that's where the psychology came in, right?
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
I said to myself one day, well, realistically, you can help the victims, but if the legal system is not set up in such a way that those victims can even get justice, then you're in the wrong field. So then I said, well, for legislation, probably law would be better to help them on that front. So that was kind of when I pivoted back to law, and that's why much of my work now has to do with victims of, and I guess we'll talk about that as we go along.
Mhm.
But that was kind of what pivoted everything and put everything in perspective for me, because in like the criminal justice, certain topics we covered, and I realized with my psychology background, a lot of this is really the victims can't help themselves. So even if you go and you sit down and you tell them every day that you're worth more than everything else, you're great, you deserve love. Even if we tell them that 24/7, that doesn't get them out of that situation, because oftentimes when these victims end up put in the hospital by their abusers, sometimes they're even allowed to say they don't want to press charges, and then we just agree they don't want to press charges, and then they go right back
We
home.
move on.
Yes. So they forget about it because, of course, they're love bombed, and this guy will never do it again, and he promises to never do it again until he does it again. So that's when, like, even in my clinical psychology rotation, I realized that I don't really want to be on this end too much, because I feel like I'm at an end where I can't really help you, because you can't help. Like, at that point, nothing I say to you is going to help your situation. So that's why I decided, hey, maybe we need to find another way to help. At that time, immigration was not necessarily in my crosshairs at all, but other experiences I had kind of pushed me in that direction.
So you get an internship while you're at university. How did you go about getting an internship? And people don't even understand. Listen, let me tell you, our students in the Caribbean, we will find means and ways to get all tea kappa that is out there, all scholarship, all internships that opening doors, and we're all about. And people don't even understand that hustle. Like especially older people, like to just get your foot in the. You feel like once you get your foot in the door, like you in. How did you get? What was the process like for you to even get that? How did you even know about that internship to even end up in Washington doing an internship?
Okay, so I was one of those students who was on the dean's list every single semester. So my name was very well known, and I was a teaching assistant to one of the professors there. So a lot of people on campus knew me. And there was this lady who worked in the provost office. She was actually Dominican. Her name is Leslyn Tong. She's now a doctor. So Dr. Tong. She told me about this program where they send students to Washington, D.C. through the Washington Center. And you have to apply for it. They look at your grades. You have to write an essay about, your life and whatever the prompt was. I don't remember right now. So they were given, they had like an information session, and when I sat there, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this sounds interesting, but how am I going to pay for this? So then the man said, oh, it's all expense paid. When he said that, I said, oh, say more, and I'm writing my notes.
Where should I sign up?
And he's talking about the type of students that they want to see in the program. And I'm taking notes of everything the man said, because I already knew that for that essay, I am going to put myself and categorize everything that they want so I could get through. And then I said to myself, but if I go into Washington, D.C., they're giving me a place to stay, yes, but how am I going to eat? And then the school said, oh, we're going to give you a stipend. I think it was $2,600 a month or something like that. So I was like, oh, so there's free money, free room and board plus a job. Okay, yeah. So I got accepted to that program, and I went.
How long was the program? How long was it for?
It was for like the summer, so like I think about 2 months or 6 weeks? I don't really remember. I think it was about 2 months really, because we went in June and we came back close to the end of July. But that program was also educational, so it wasn't just you go and you work, but then we could be on different tracks. So I chose the law track, and because I chose the law track, I took classes on US law, immigration law, this law, that law. And I remember going to court with my boss, and at one point he said to me, Miss Jude, why do you want to do law? And I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, okay, so you think you have what it takes? I said, yes. He gave me a pile this high, like a really big pile of documents. And he said, okay, you're going to trial tomorrow. You need to sit down and digest all of this. You need to be able to tell me where everything is. And at that point, the judge actually allowed me to sit down at counsel's table with my boss. And as he was questioning the witnesses, one of the witnesses lied. And when he looked at me, I put up my hand and then I gave him the information he needed to impeach the witness. Impeachment is where you actually confront them with a prior statement.
Mhm.
So I had the area, the exact page, and I gave it to him. And then every time somebody slipped up, I gave it to him. And after that, he told me, I really think you have what it takes because a lot of people would have missed. And he himself, some of the stuff I caught, he didn't really catch it. And then for his closing argument, I had things circled and highlighted. And he said I was really helpful to him in the courtroom. And he liked me so much that the year after I graduated from undergrad, he actually asked me to come back to work for him for that summer. I did go. I was clerking for him for a little bit. And then the Washington Center, the same place I did the internship, called me back to be an alumni mentor. So I was mentoring the newer students coming from undergrad. I was almost like a RA, like a resident assistant, and
Mhm.
that they had everything they need dealing with resident conflicts. One of the programs I implemented there was they had programs for the residents, but I told them, hey, we have students from all over the world. We have Chinese students, Vietnamese, Caribbean people. What about we have activities to bring them together? And the coordinator asked me what I had in mind. And I had this day, I had this international potluck. So
Mhm.
everybody brought some
A
dish from
dish.
the country. I brought fig pie.
Mhm.
It was a very hard time getting those green bananas, but we get them. So um, it was really nice, tasting different foods, different music. There was some meals that kind of stayed on the table, but Caribbean people fresh. So the
Mhm.
Caribbean students were pointing out to me who made what and what country they were from and who didn't season the chicken. It was just so funny. But ultimately, in the end, it turned
It
into
brought
like a whole
people
learning
together.
experience because the next time they were cooking, we're like, no, you need to put seasoning, you need to, because they ask us, how come your chicken tastes so good? So then we had to tell them what we put in the chicken. And that turned out to be because I had to turn it into educational programming because they didn't want me to just do something for fun. And in the end, everybody shared something of their culture, who danced a traditional dance, who sang a traditional song, who played music. And that was just I love that experience because that gave me an opportunity to actually give back. And some of the people that I mentored are still in touch with me today. One of them is an attorney. She just passed the bar the other day, and she's begging me to come work for me. But those experiences honestly shaped where I am today and what I do.
Wow. So you complete your so explain to me how, because I know, like, if I'm familiar with like UE and or even other universities, you sometimes do like the first 4 years and then you do an additional 2 years. In your case, you did 2 years and then you did another 2 years. How did your time, your course time, how did that split up? How long were you in school for, essentially, and when did you graduate?
Okay, so finished state college at 17. I started UVI in 2014. I was done. Okay, so when I was done with undergrad, there's this exam we had to take. It's called the law school admission test. It's the most ridiculous exam you can ever take because it's about everything that you don't even need to know to be a lawyer. It's like logic games, literally mind games on paper.
Mhm.
You had to score. If you score high enough, and that's another way, because I was always saying, how am I going to pay for school? Because I had this whole incident in undergrad when I ran out of money. So,
Oh, wow. Tell us about that. But hold on still. You're telling us about how you got
yeah.
through. Yeah.
So then when I heard about the law school admission test, I was still kind of how I'm going to pay for this because 8 bank money had already ran out. Um, so they said, oh, if you get a high enough score, then some schools will give you a full ride. So I knew that if I scored high enough on this exam, that I would have an opportunity to get scholarships. I actually did the exam twice. I scored high both times, but I did it a second time just to see how high I could go. So I was I think I applied to about 15 schools because I didn't really know nothing about locations for schools or
Yeah, and
nothing.
that's what I was going to ask you. It's like, how did you navigate even those things? Because some most people have like a, or some people might find a mentor, but when you come from the Caribbean,
It's
when
kind of
you don't really mess with anybody you don't know, it's like you don't know. You don't just want to walk up to somebody and say, "Can you tell me this, and
I
this?"
did a lot of reading and I looked online for the schools that hired that the schools that give the highest scholarships. I looked at those and the locations. My family was in New Jersey at the time, and I didn't really like Jersey because of the cold, but I did apply to Rutgers and Seton Hall. I did get into those schools, but at that time, I was classified as an international student. I to be a resident of that state, you had to have lived there for a year. I was not gonna wait a year to go to school because I wanted to be done with law school by 25, and I did. So I got accepted to those schools. I had offers, but when I calculated, I remember doing this spreadsheet of scholarship versus how much I would have to come out of pocket. And that is what actually drove my decision to what school I went to. I did look at the best schools in Florida, but my experience in high school taught me that the school doesn't make a student. So I went to one of the law schools in Florida with the lowest bar passage rate, and
Wow.
everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Like my friends were like, "Girl, you got accepted to like big like I got accepted to really good schools in DC and all of that, Berkeley."
Why
But I
did you make that decision?
money, Jael, money.
Wow.
It came down to I was not trying to be stuck in this whole the government didn't pay for school for me situation and not being able to figure out what I need to do. So my goal was get as much help as I can, and then me and my parents figure out the rest. So when I looked at it, Barry was offering me, I think I was at 85% tuition. So my stuff was like 3,000 a semester out of the, like, usually it's about 19. Just the tuition was 19,000. So I only
Mhm.
had like three. And then while I was sitting there, I saw they have an immigration stipend. So I told them, so I saw the immigration stipend gives you $3,000 a year, which takes off $3,000 out of the six I have to pay. So I wrote a story to them about, and that was 2017. I wrote a story to them about like my own little immigration story and what happens when you listen to people you're not supposed to listen to, which is why it took me and my younger brother a little bit longer to get through. But I just told them, how it is when you listen to people who don't necessarily know what they're talking about and the immigration implications of doing that. And I spoke a little bit about my background, where I'm from, my island. One of the fun things I told them was that we don't have AC in our houses. For us, that's not a problem, but to them, that was like, oh my God.
You put in your little lying lawyer skills. Well, you're
Well,
twisting the words. You're not lying.
it wasn't a lie.
You just playing on their heartstrings, right?
Yes, because it wasn't a lie. I didn't grow up with AC. I
True.
grew up I grew up with hot water, but I didn't grow up with AC. I didn't grow up with a lot of things that in America they consider to be so
A
great.
necessity.
I grew up in a house without heating. I'm in the Caribbean, why need heating? But
Exactly.
I put everything in there that even if for me it wasn't really an issue, for them those were the type of things that they wanted to know any adversity whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, this is why I'm from the
That is an
Caribbean.
adversity, and and I'm living proof.
I grew up in the Caribbean without I basically the way I phrased it was that I grew up without a lot of the comforts that Americans enjoy. And coming here to the States was really big for me, and coming from a family that I probably middle class or something like that. I really needed the help, and that was how I was able to get certain things done. Once I started law school, I found out that there was a trial team scholarship. So I
Girl.
joined the trial team. So I joined the trial team. Um, the
And all of these things are making you better, and you're doing it because of money, but it's essentially making you better.
Yes, because that immigration stipend required me to be a part of the Immigration Law Society and to take the immigration clinic. That was one of the requirements of me getting the stipend and keeping my stipend is keeping my grades above, I think, a GPA of 2.5, and participating in immigration activities. So that was me volunteering in a lot of immigration stuff. And the trial team, I did the litigation honors certificate so I could learn to be a litigator in court. And the trial team scholarship, I got that scholarship. I didn't actually do a trial team competition. The year that I got into trial team, my coach actually committed suicide.
Oh no.
So they allowed my group to sit out the
Sit out.
competition
Hmm.
because, I mean, how do you
Trauma.
compete
Yeah.
after that? So rest his soul. It was just shocking because we've been trying to reach him for a while, and then we just heard that he took his own life, and the school reached out, offered us counseling, and Barry's a Catholic school,
Hmm.
offered to go and speak to a priest and different things they could do to try to support the students.
Hmm.
So I did that in law school. That's basically how I paid for law school, pretty much.
Wow. Wow. I love this story. And you know what? I love what you're saying because, I mean, it's coming from people might look at you and say, "Oh, her parents, well, her mom was a teacher or a principal. Her dad was this."
Hmm.
We look at you as middle class, but don't understand that when you get into America or when you get into the rest of the world, you become like a dot at the end of the sentence because, and you have to. I mean, EC convert to US is a hell of a thing,
Hmm.
right? And you mentioned even like running out of money. What was that like for you? Like,
So there was, I think, my last semester, because before I went to school, I did what everybody said to do. I walk up and down ministry steps until my God jam get had. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Because I'm seeking assistance. I wrote so many letters. I met with so many different people. I met with the Prime Minister himself. I met with not like everybody you could think of, I met with. And I was promised a government scholarship. When it was time to go to get my visa, because at that time, I think, yeah, I had to get a visa because I was on file, but my stuff didn't come through yet, and I didn't want to stay Dominica waiting for a green card to come through. So I left. So when it was time to go get the visa, I don't have any funds from the government, and a promise is a comfort to a fool. So guess that fool was me. But that was another situation where I just decided I wasn't going to school. And my father asked why, and I told him, I just felt like, how are we gonna do this? And then, he told me, no, go and find out what the options are and come back to me. So I came to him one night and I said, hey, daddy, I found out that we could get a student loan from Aid Bank, but they're asking for collateral and I don't have collateral. And my father said to me, how you expect to have collateral? So my dad gave me the bank statements, and I got a bank statement from my father. We got the student loan. The bank statement thing was very weird to me because I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but generally as children, we never know how much money our parents have in the bank. And when you're a child, you always think your parents have $1 million hiding somewhere.
mm-mm.
So when these people asked me for a bank statement showing X amount of $1,000, I was like, that's not gonna happen. But then my parents very tried very hard to help me. We got the loan, we got the insurance policies, we got everything done. I went to Barbados, got the scholarship, got the visa,
Visa. Hmm.
when everybody told me I couldn't get a visa because I was on file. But
And that is also another misconception that a lot of people have that because you're on file, and I've heard it a lot. Don't apply for a visa. You're on file. You will not get it.
yeah, so I got my student visa while my stuff was pending, and I went to St. Thomas, so that was good, right? But remember, I left thinking, okay, I got a loan so I could start myself off, but the government promised some assistance. So by the time that come in, I could have to finish school. Well, I got to the point where the money I took from Aid Bank ran out, and the money from the government was nowhere to be seen. I flew
So
down
it
to
never came.
I flew down to Dominica with my grades, my transcripts, everything showing that I've been making the dean's list. And that was at my final semester of school. So, my parents and I basically covered my entire thing except one semester. So when that happened, I went to, like, I was frustrated. I was depressed about it. I took a while before I told my parents. I didn't tell my parents until
What were you thinking you were gonna do? Like, what were you thinking of doing?
I don't know. I didn't even want to tell what I thought of doing, but it was like not that. But I was getting to the point where I got depressed and thinking maybe it's better off that I wasn't here, that I was just a burden to my parents type thing. And when I finally told my parents what was going on, I remember my mother telling me, "Oh, God will provide." And that night, I said, "Mommy, so God go in and just walk to the school and just pay the bill for me because apparently God will provide, right?" So I was frustrated about it, and she kept saying every single day. She called me in the morning. She said she praying with me. She praying for God to provide. And I remember getting so annoyed at my mother. She probably don't even know that. I used to be so annoyed. While she praying, I used to take the phone, take it up by my ears, put it on the bed for a little while, and listen to see if she's still praying, and put it back down because I was just so frustrated. Like, you're not helping. Like, what you're doing right now is not helping. And that's just how in my head I was seeing it until one day I got the idea, and my mother said God gave me the idea.
So we're going with that. We're going with that.
So God gave me the idea to email the president of the university. Now, just saying it out loud now, that sounds like something very stupid because who is me? Why would the president of the university care?
No, that is
But
not something stupid at all. When you want to, how you have hashtag goals.
yeah.
Listen, listen.
So
Okay.
him. I emailed him. I said, "I'm not sure if you know who I am, but I'm an international student from Dominica. I've been dropped from all my courses because I don't have enough money to pay. My parents are not able to come up with the amount that we need within the space of time that we need. And I'm not really sure how you can assist." Because at that time, I was hoping for them to just put me back in classes until we could come up with the money. And then he responded, "Of course I know who you are. Come to my office, Miss Jude, to see me today." And then his assistant called me and asked me that the president wanted to see me. I'm like, what the president want to see me about?
Favor.
Why you want to
God
see
I'm
me?
providing.
I sat down in his office and he said to me, "Miss Jude, you know how many times I've shaken your hand since you started UVI?" And he showed me, like, they have pictures they take of every single award ceremony. And I remember he showed me he had, and that means he took time, because this man showed me my picture shaking his hand from my vet when I was Meg, the first time I got on the dean's list, to the second time, to the third time. So he told me, "I know who you are and we recognize your hard work." And he actually paid my balance, no strings attached. I never had to sleep with him. I never had to sit down on his desk. I never had to get his phone number. I never had to do anything. I did, like, anything uncomfortable or unprofessional. He never propositioned me, nothing. This man just said to me, "We see you." And I was also a,
Oh, I'm getting emotional.
oh Lord, I was also a
Woo.
peer health educator at university. So
Mhm.
I was going around telling people about sexual health. We were walking around campus with dildos and condoms and showing people how to use them and basically telling people to protect themselves. So I got paid to do that. So got paid to do that. So that was one of my jobs on campus. I was a peer health educator, and we did stuff talking about, going to get tested. We ran different drives of people getting tested. We traveled to conferences together. I remember traveling to Disney with them. um, we did a lot of that. So he said, "I see you and I see the work that you do." So he helped. They actually cleared my balance from that for that semester. And I was, words, like, I asked the man, like, what I need to do. Like, why are you helping me?
You
So,
felt like you owed him.
I'm like, do you need me to, like, come and do paperwork, like filing or something to make up for it? Because I'm trying to pay back, because for me, I remember, a young Black woman being, this is being done for me by a man of influence who I have no other relationship with, who I do not even know personally. So for me, before even accepting, I want to know what's the catch. Like,
Mhm. As you
what?
should.
And I remember he invited me to dinner with him and his wife. And I met his wife. I had met her through the peer health educators, and she's a wonderful woman. And she spoke to me, and I don't know if she's the one who told him to do it, but they were just so nice to me, and that's when I realized that's when I could relax.
God.
That's when I could relax, and I said, "Okay, God." And I called my mother. And
Yes, favor,
I,
my girl, favor, favor.
yep,
Folks are on the live, Tamika, and people are like really like your story is like it's heartfelt. It's a story that a lot of folks can identify with, especially when you have dreams and you want to do well, when you're the first person in your family to go to university, when you're like the first of so many things, right?
mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people on the live who are just saying, oh my God, I can relate. People like and is saying, brilliant young lady, focus and aims for target aspiring. Janice says, Tamika, you were always an intelligent young lady since college days. Um, um, Sasha is saying, such a driven and determined young woman. Folks are just, folks can see their themselves in your story, right? Even with like you're saying, oh, God will provide, your mom saying God will provide. Child, I've been there, and I wanted to tell my mom, like, hush your mouth, like, what nonsense you gonna tell me about God will provide? And I mean, I cannot say it isn't God, I cannot say it is God, but I can say that with conviction. Their conviction is so strong that their faith moves mountains,
Yes.
like literally, and this is so important as Caribbean people. And I'm getting emotional because I can relate to what you're saying, and I know a lot of folks can relate to when you feel like you're at the bottom and that person telling you about God, and you can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, it can't do nothing for you. You probably have to suck salt for a couple days, and 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 something happens, and changes everything. So a lot of folks are on here, and I know they are feeling exactly what you're saying. Like it's hitting people's hearts because they understand. I mean, we use God or the universe or whatever our terms are, but it is so important to have family. Your family has played such an important role, and this man that was sent by
He was
God, because
yes, sent by
because that's
God.
what we could say, because your mom said God will provide, right?
Yes, and that's
and
what we
and your
do.
stuff was paid off, and obviously, they helped you to their will and their faith really made you get to achieve all of what you've achieved. I want to say thank you to the folks who are setting stars, Daphne and Adele. Adele, thank you very much for your stars. I mean, this is really emotional.
No, Jael, it is
Let's
serious.
hear
It got
it.
to the point. It got to the
Martina
point.
is saying onions.
No, Jael,
I,
it got to the point where I needed to pay that money, and what I started doing was when I got paid for my job, I took everything and put it on the account. It was, I think I was probably making like $600 every 2 weeks. It wasn't nothing much, but I put the entire thing. And what I did was, well, I'm not in college no more. I can't get in trouble for it. So I got one of them little electric skillets, like a little crock pot. I ate ramen for almost 2 months. My parents, half of these things my parents don't know. My mother probably watching this now, like there were, and I couldn't eat the cafeteria food because I was getting sick. But I had to get off the meal plan because the meal plan was too expensive, anyways. And of course, can't afford the meal plan. So I was cooking ramen and Vienna sausage in my dorm room, and there were nights when I was hungry, and I would go in the vending machine and get a little cinnamon bun to eat. And it wasn't a situation where I felt like if my parents knew it was that bad that they would not help me, but it was me not wanting to burden them. It was
yes.
not wanting them to.
Yes.
It was paid
Yes.
one
Knowing that their EC have to convert into that US to send to you. And it
yeah,
might potentially they might potentially be staying without so you can have. And
yeah.
you're like,
Unfortunately have them paying interest on my loan while I was at school. So
right.
that was always in the back of my mind. So I was like, and the thing is, staying focused in a situation like that, I trying to not get emotional. It's hard because you're at the point where you're a young lady, men try to talk to you, and it's the I can take care of you type thing. And it's them street man and them man in the big gold chain and thing trying to talk to you because, and you know they have money. And then you have to
And
stay.
you are in need.
It's like you have to stay true to yourself and your morals and decide not to do so. It's not that I couldn't if I wanted to. If I really wanted to get a man to pay for it, I probably could have, But I always said to myself that with me going to school, I never want to ever have to look at my degree with regret. And that's what would have happened if I had compromised and did certain things
Mhm.
to get further. And that was something that was non-negotiable for me. If it meant going back home, if it meant no longer being alive, whatever. But I always wanted that whenever I look back, that I can't sit and say, boy, I regret doing this. Because I had friends doing some very shady stuff. But I always said that my conscience would not allow me. And I don't know if it's a me thing, but I always felt like my parents would find out.
You
I
because
always
my
felt
mother
like
used to
they would
say this thing, whatever is done in the darkness will
come to
one
the
day
light.
be revealed to the. I'm like, yo, dude, a girl can have seen in peace
So I
because you're
always
hearing this
felt
in
that.
your head. Right, right.
I always
And at the
felt that.
same time, you know what you could potentially do, how much shame it will bring to them. How
Mhm.
the world doesn't have to know, but they will feel shame. So to you, you're just like, you have to bite the bullet and do what you feel is morally right to do, and to keep not just your head up, but your family head up.
Yeah. And that actually showed me like the importance of family because my dad had a brother. Like I said, I had family in St. Thomas. And my uncle, I don't know if my uncle had a sixth sense, Jail, but every time I got down to no food, there would be Uncle Alvin calling me on a Saturday. Come. I come down, he take me up, he get me groceries and take me back to
Bless
camp.
you.
And that's why I always tell people, I know people say a lot of things about family, and some people have negative experiences. Everybody may have one or two negative experiences with family, but I have been fortunate to know that I have some family members who were there for me. Even if my uncle was not in Dominica when I was a little girl, whenever he came down, he would always bring stuff for us. And my uncle made sure, like, I remember there was a point where I didn't have a phone. For my birthday, my uncle took me and gave me, I think he gave me like $900 cash to buy a phone. And I wanted an iPhone. That's why he gave me that much money. And I remember getting an iPhone 6 by Sprint.
Mhm.
And after that, he still took me to get groceries. And that's my father's brother. And it was like, I just like he was just so nice to me. And I'm not really used to taking things from people. So initially, of course, I told my uncle I don't want it, even if I need it.
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
but then, because I didn't really grow up with him around, I was still kind of not wanting to ask him if I needed something. But then my
Mhm.
uncle was just, he's just such a nice person. He always made sure that every I was taken care of. My mom had some siblings in St. Thomas. If I needed, like on the summer, I needed a place to stay, I could go to somebody's house.
Wow.
Those I feel like my family unit supported me in or the other. There was a point in time where my brother was paying my phone bill. So I feel like everybody came together to assist me the best they could. I think had I reached out to people more, I probably would have gotten more assistance, but my pride didn't
And your
necessarily let me
upbringing,
do
your
that.
pride and your upbringing, right?
Yes.
Because
I didn't start
it's
begging.
not just your pride, eh? Because some people are brought up always asking, and a lot of people are, as some people are brought up to know that you don't ask for anything, even if your mouth making chim, you don't ask, right?
Yes. So it was
So,
it was very, it's just a very humbling experience for me. Like I said, that's when I became an adult. because that was when I could have done a lot of things that I wasn't allowed to do before. I could have gone to a lot of places, but I just had to always tell myself that, first of all, St. Thomas have a lot of Dominicans,
Mm-hmm.
and I always felt like somebody would see me doing something I'm not supposed to be doing
And
with
they will go back
somewhere.
and tell on you.
And that, I don't know if that kept me in check or what, but it was always me not wanting to embarrass my parents. And that kind of kept a lot of things at bay. Like certain things I know people were doing and stuff, I did not really get involved in things because of course I knew how my parents would feel. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
my father's first child, so can you imagine me
Mm-hmm.
over there doing craziness? And then for my
Mm-hmm.
uncle who's helping me so well, or my uncle, my mother's brother who's a
Put
pastor,
shame in his
to
eyes.
be hearing about his knees down UBI being wild. So that basically kept me in check. And with that thing with the president, generally for graduation they don't allow solos by students. Usually you sing with the choir. But I had been asked to sing Rise Up at one of the award ceremonies by Rise Up by Andre Day. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the president let me sing it because that day I broke down in his office. So that money thing, I was just crying, 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 crying. I couldn't stop crying. I don't know what I was crying for. And then for graduation, he asked for me to sing, and the graduation committee said no, students are not allowed to sing. There's no space in the program for a singer. Jail, I kid you not, this man, when he was supposed to, he made me sit on the stage for graduation while everyone else was in the audience, and I actually have a video. And then he called me up during when he was supposed to sing, when he was supposed to do his speech,
Speak.
had his
Mm-hmm.
allotted time, and he called me to sing in his time. And then at the end, he said that was his speech, and I was like, wow. And a lot of people were like, why her? Why her? Because I know a lot of people who could sing probably were thinking they could sing better than me, right?
Mm-hmm.
How people are competitive. But
Mm-hmm.
for him, he just felt like my story was just so inspirational because when I had that dinner with him and his wife, I told them, where I was from and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And these two people just fell in love with me to the point of when I was done with law school, I emailed him and he was telling me how proud he was of me and happy that I actually got to complete my schooling. And that was, thanks to him. And I'm just so grateful that God places people in my life for a reason. And that was what happened when I couldn't pay for school.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you obviously you decide to complete law school.
Hmm.
Tell us what led you. I mean, you spoke about the fact that you were doing all of this immigration practicing, whether it was on the different committees you were part of. But after law school, you can choose to be anything or everything. And as you said, you were already in a school that had the lowest people passing the bar. What was that experience like in terms of you get in terms of you passing the bar and then deciding that okay, this is where I'm gonna lead. This is where
Yes.
I'm gonna go.
So while I was in law school, I did the immigration clinic, and I remember one of the clients. He had a very complex case, and he ended up being my client. Me and another friend of mine. He's actually an immigration attorney too. I literally spoke to him today, and I just saw the joy in that man's case. I had to go to court to represent him, and when we actually got things figured out for him, terminating his immigration case so now he can get his green card for his wife, and that just brought me a different kind of joy. I was actually working for free for this immigration attorney while I was in law school. I did it not because I had to. I met her at a citizenship clinic, and I was telling her I wanted to do immigration, and she said she needs an intern, but she can't afford to pay me. I told her that's fine. That's fine. I'll just come and help you anyway. So, she taught me a lot of stuff about, different types of cases, asylum cases. I did a lot of her legal research. And I kind of just like, oh, I think I like this. Hmm. I just kind of fell in love with immigration and doing like my own immigration process. That was also something that pushed me in that direction. getting my little brother here. Um, I was just doing a lot of immigration work myself. I did all my petitions, everything. So it got to the point where you stick with what you know. So I was working for this firm in Virginia while I was studying for the bar. I started studying for the bar, and then that was COVID season. I was supposed to take the bar in July 2020. That was already something that was crazy. So now bar prep is expensive. There's a course you have to do, and some of those courses are like 3,000 and up. So what I did to get mine for free, I was a representative for Themis Bar Prep. So that means I got my course for free. So that was one expense that I took off my plate. I got that for free. And then
You didn't get it for free, now you work for it.
yes. So then we did I was studying for the bar, and then COVID happened and they did not do the exam in July, and New Jersey said they're gonna push it to November. No, October. I think it was October. Yeah, October. Jail, 2 weeks before the bar exam. I'm in the ICU. Tachycardia. My heart is beating out my chest, heart rate 200, over 200, and they cannot slow down my heart. They gave me they thought it was an anxiety attack at first. They couldn't slow down my heart, so they had to put me in I don't know how they call it, but basically almost like a coma.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me down. I probably woke up 2 days later. I was in so I was in there for 3 days. They could not get my heart, and it got to the point where after when I woke up, my heart rate was to normal, and then they said to me I may have damage to my heart because my heart was beating so fast for so long. Like even after they sedated me, they had to give me
What do
something.
you think caused that?
I superstitious. I don't know.
You think it's a lot of the stress and all of this
It might
because
have it might
you
have been the stress, and I had just been a little energizer bunny. I was actually that's when I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was studying for the bar.
girl, I always knew you had that shit.
Well, that's when I was also
Girl,
told.
I diagnosed you back in 2010. Tell them.
Right. So that's what they said. I had, I was always, jumpy. And that's why I think the doctor said that's why I feel the need to do so many things at one time. It's
Mm-hmm.
because of my constant need to keep moving and keep busy.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, they checked, thank God there was no damage to my heart. Then the doctor said to me, do you have anything stressful coming up? I was like, yeah, the bar exam. He's like, you can't do it. I said, what do you mean I can't do the exam? I've been studying for this exam for months. What do you mean I can't do it? He said, Miss Jude, I suggest you take a break. I went home that day and I was crying. I'm like, do I tell anybody? 'Cause if I don't tell nobody in my family and I don't tell nobody, then nobody's going to know. But then I had to realize that my health was more important than whatever I had going on. So I messaged my advisor for the bar, and he said to me, I'm pulling you from the exam. I said, I don't have a choice. He said, no. First of all, you don't sleep. You need to rest. So he basically pulled me from the exam. I had to contact the board of bar examiners, give them my medical documentation, and then they deferred me to February 2021 to do the bar exam. Again, I'm going into the bar exam with all the weight of coming from a school that everybody says that, oh, the bar pass rate is low. I passed on the first try, but it was difficult. Taking the bar exam, I found out I was pregnant like 3 weeks before the exam, and I had morning sickness through my exam, and it was
We don't even know when a man coming. When did the man come into the we hear the man enter the conversation. Rewind. Rewind.
yeah. So I got married in 2019, um, in Orlando. So my goal was always no children until I'm done with school, until I get at least that degree, because I always felt like children would be an obstacle to me getting this done within the timeline that I have to get it done. And I wanted to be financially, I always said to myself, I want to give my child the life that I never had, and
Mhm.
even a better life than I had, because I didn't have a bad life as a child. My parents took care of us. But that was always my goal. So found out I'm pregnant. I'm doing the exam now. Still COVID. So guess what? The exam is online, Jail, and we're not allowed to look away from the screen. You can't look up in the ceiling. You can't look on the side. During one of my essays, I had to throw up, and I don't want to look around because I don't want them to accuse me of cheating. I thought I was going to fail because I had to grab an empty bucket next to me. I threw up in the bucket and then I showed it to the camera. Whoever was monitoring my exam must have been grossed out. They probably threw up too. But for me, I did not want to fail the exam, and I didn't want them to feel like maybe I had a paper with notes in the bucket and I was trying to cheat. So it was really like doing a virtual bar was in itself even more challenging than if you had to do a
Wow.
bar, because if you scratch too much, you would see, or sometimes they would pull you out of the room, and it was just ridiculous doing a virtual bar. But
What
I
is
was
it like? What is the process like? Or what goes on in that room in that moment?
Well, you're supposed to, for the when they did it online, the bar exam is generally done in person. They stopped doing it online since that COVID thing. But we had to, when you get into your room, you have to stand up in the middle of the room and you have to do a 360 with your laptop. Spin your laptop all around the room so that they know that you're alone. You then have to scan the floor, then up to the ceiling so that the AI can be sure that there's nothing in the room that you can use to cheat. Um, During the exam, you're not really allowed to get up and go to the bathroom. You have to sit there the entire time. Some people wore diapers to do the exam. I just didn't drink no water because I know that was not gonna work out for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of tried not to eat that morning, and I know my mother was busy telling me, "You need to eat before you do the exam because you're gonna get hungry. You need your energy." But in my head, I'm like, "Mommy, if I eat, it's not gonna stay down, you know." So that was, I guess, one of the very challenging things I had to deal with. However, we don't get results until May. So fast forward, I do the exam. Scared that I failed because of that bucket situation, and also because I had gotten sick, I had to slow down and change my study schedule. So I honestly didn't feel like probably I was ready, and then I let the fact that I went to that school get in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't sure, what would happen next. Then continued working for the firm in Virginia, and I said to them, "Well, I'm about to be an attorney, so once that happens, of course, the pay is supposed to change." Making 17 an hour as a law clerk, but for me, it wasn't really an issue because I was studying. My husband was working. He was paying the bills anyway. So the money wasn't, neither here nor there. I was doing it for the experience. After I passed the bar in May, I didn't even want to open the email. I got the email. I think I gave it to my husband to open. I remember telling him I just got my bar exam results. He said, "What? You passed?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "What you mean you don't know?" I said, "Because I don't want to open the email." He said, "Why you don't want to open the email?" I said, "Because I don't know if I pass. And if I didn't pass, I don't know what I'm going to do." Like, so I handed him the phone. And then he looked at me and he said, "Well, there's always next time." I said, "For real?" I look at him. I said, "For real?" He said, "No, Tika, you passed the exam. You passed. Congrats." I was like, "Yay!" Like, I passed the exam. So when I found out I passed the exam now, first thing I do is I tell my boss, "Hey, I passed the exam because this 17 an hour is not going to cut
Needs
it."
to go up. Mm-hmm.
So right about that time, one of the attorneys I used to work for say she's leaving the firm to go work somewhere else. So in my head, I'm like, well, if an attorney is leaving the firm, I'm an attorney, then she doesn't need to go hire nobody else, right? Boom. After I passed it, well, I'd already started my own little thing on the side before I even left the job, because a lot of people had already started asking me for help because I used to help people before I became a lawyer. So once I passed the bar and I posted I passed the bar, now everybody and their cousin is in my inbox like, "Hey, I have this situation and blah blah blah." So
Mm-hmm.
I was like on the side helping people out, but still like, okay, I have a job, so let me, jail 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, my pay didn't change. I just sent in my resignation, and then this lady looks at me, "Okay, well, I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors." In my head, like, so you're not even trying to get me to stay? Like, I felt like, like you have a man and the man leave you and
I
like
know. Oh no, when you leave in and the
when
man
you
just lets
and
you
gonna
go.
tell
The
you
man
let
just
you
lets you
go.
go out the door and he check in. Like my brother, he doesn't gonna run after me.
You're like, try to take me stay. Yeah, so it was kind of like I was feeling some type of way about it, but then I said to myself, you know what, that might be a blessing in disguise. So when I first started my firm with all the money in my bank account at that time, I used it to buy software, to do this, to do that. And I started on a platform called Lawfully where we were doing consultations. So I went on there and I saw there were like probably 200 attorneys on there. And I asked myself, out of these 200 people, why would anybody pick me? I literally became an attorney yesterday. Like, who really? So, what I did was I did my consultations for $15 because the cheapest attorney was $20. Now, I know people and I know immigrants and I know they're cheap. So, I know that the cheap person is most likely who they're going to try to do a consultation with. So I was doing 15-minute consultations for $15. Um, a lot of people, I got a lot of consults from people at that time, and a lot of them contacted me outside of the platform to represent them. I was fiddling with the idea of doing free consultations at that time since I was doing it for $15 anyways, right? But then I noticed that with free consultations, it was just a lot of people wasting my time. Like they come to me to try to get information and then they go do it themselves. So I would spend a whole day doing like a whole bunch of consultations. Imagine 15-minute consultations and all day I sit down in front of a computer. Like, and I know a lot of people are like, why would you do that? But for me, my goal wasn't to be on that platform forever. My goal was to build a client base. And to build a client base, I have to be in front of people. And people are not going to just see me sitting back. So that's why after I did the Lawfully thing, I joined the American Immigration Lawyer Association, AILA, and they had conferences and stuff. I did that, and then I joined several Facebook immigration self-help groups where I would see like certain people would talk about certain issues they have. I'll be like, okay, well, call my office for a consultation. And after I helped those people in that group, now I didn't really charge them that much because my goal was be smart. If you help this one, they're gonna tell everybody in the group you help them, and then you're gonna get business from that. So I shouldn't be giving my sauce on Facebook. The same people gonna be like, oh, so that's how she caught me. So I helped some people with some very difficult cases, but I helped the cases that were common that enough people were gonna have that same problem. So I helped a few people whose cases got denied. I helped them reopen their cases, and then they went to the same group. That group has like 20 something thousand people. Hey, I contacted TICA after my case got approved, and now I have my green card. Boom, 20 people under the post talking about what's her number, what's her number. So right away, 20 new clients, and those cases are not cheap cases. So I did that for a little bit of time until my flow of clients was steady enough that I no longer needed to be on that platform. I'm still on that platform and people still occasionally tag me when someone has an issue, but I just don't have the time to expend to it right now. But that is how I was able to like grow my practice through referrals. Um, I also have colleagues who would contact me, people who've been practicing for longer than me, who would call me and pay me to tell them how to handle a case. Because my experience is working with these attorneys, doing an immigration clinic. I am a reader, so I gained a wealth of knowledge.
And
So
a researcher.
yep. So I knew more than the average attorney like me who had just started off. So that's why these people who were practicing for longer than me were coming to me. Now I joined this group on Facebook of immigration attorneys. There's about 8,000 attorneys in there. So what I started doing is I'm like, I need to find a way to get out there so these people can know I exist so that they can send me their referrals. So I started giving tips like how to expedite a case. So I posted and told the attorneys what I have been using to get my clients a work permit within a month, to get them a work permit in 2 months. And then it became a situation where anybody has a difficult case, they tag Tika, any ideas? Like I get tagged. Then I in that group had a thing where if I have like an interesting situation with a client or they had Tika's tales where I would tell a tale.
Just tells me.
Yes, where I would tell them about like a situation happened that I thought was funny, or probably a situation where, like, there was a time when a client was asking, can he marry his cousin, and like those type of conversations and how they go. And everybody's like, they enjoy reading my little stories. Like, if anybody follows me, my stories on my personal page are always about my son. So a lot of people come back to see, what did Xander do today? So put that in the context of an immigration lawyer, where everybody wants to know, what happened with Tika today? Like, what happened? Like, what's new? Like, even like when I told them situations where USCIS was wrongfully rejecting cases, I found a way to get my rejected cases to have the original date that I filed them. And I told them, hey, this is the email address you use. This is what I do to get this result in my cases. When I get a win in court, I would share my brief in the group. So through doing that, I'm networking, and all of these people are now seeing me. I have all these younger attorneys coming to me like, hey, can you be my mentor? And for mentorship for immigration, we charge like 300 to 500 an hour to an attorney, where we sit down and we strategize and we tell them what to do. So then I have all of the people coming to me because they want my insights on a case, or they want me to help them to do something, or they're working on a brief and they want me to review it. You're gonna have to pay me to do that. But that's kind of how I got out there, and that's why I was also recognized as one of the top 40 under 40 national black by the National Black Lawyers Association. So I got, like, I have a bunch of letters coming in the mail where people are nominating me. I also serve on the American Bar Association. I was a chair on the solo GP solo committee. That's a committee of attorneys who are solo attorneys who just, like, you're the only one in your practice. The Young Lawyers Division, I was one of the chairs for the pro bono. Like, I have been active in those organizations. I have actually spoken at the AILA South Florida conference, teaching other attorneys how to file their cases online more effectively, because a lot of attorneys right now don't want to do the online filing because they think it's just a hassle. And a lot of attorneys in 2024 still don't really know how to use a computer. So I was, one of the panelists. I developed a PowerPoint, and I was asked to speak at that big conference. And this is me, like, man, I'm 2 years in and you're asking me to talk to all these people that practicing longer than me. But I was scared at first to do it. But then I kind of just, when I spoke to somebody else, she's like, girl, I've been practicing for 15 years and nobody asked me to talk nowhere. So if they're asking you to talk, then go and talk, because now more and more people see you. And that's when a lot of people started approaching me to train their paralegals how to do certain things. Like, okay, I'll pay you for the day to fly out to my state to train my staff to do those type of things. So that's kind of how I built my practice.
You now have, because I remember when you launched your practice, I remember seeing it online. I was like, "Boy, it happened fast, so like." But now when you've taken us through it, I mean, it's like everything just kind of, the dots just connected, because you originally put in all the work. So all of that free money you were trying to get, it wasn't free money because you were working towards it. Essentially, it gave you the knowledge, it also gave you the experience, which in turn help you to help other people, not just people who had immigration issues, but people who are pursuing cases, actual lawyers just like yourself. And then eventually you now can open up your own practice. I mean, like that is amazing.
So it's a step-by-step process. A lot of people will, like, when I first started, a lot of people were confused. Somebody asked me, but you just had practicing. I remember somebody close to me said that to me. Oh, you just passed the bar. You want to already charge people $150 to talk to you? I said law school wasn't free. And if they don't feel that I'm worth their $150, they're free to go somewhere else. But I, from that point, set myself in that, as a business owner, when you start to lower your prices because of people who don't see your worth, you don't have product.
Preach!
Product. If you cannot afford it, you go somewhere else. Because when I walk into Fendi and they tell me the price, I don't ask them, is it on sale? Because Fendi don't have sale. If I go
Exactly.
to SL and they tell me their bag is $2,300, if I don't have it, I have to turn around and go. So it's the same for an attorney. Like, I have had situations where I have given some people discounts depending on the situation, because at the end of the day, I'm still human, you know. But if you tell me, hey, things are hard for me, and you give me a situation, I understand that. But if your approach to me is, oh, other lawyers are cheaper, we'll go there. I had that conversation with somebody.
I'm not expensive. You just can't afford me. That's my line.
Yeah, because I
I'm
had
not
somebody the
expensive.
other day who came to me and they were telling me about, oh, this is the case and how much you charge. I told him, well, this case starts at $8,000 and then you need XYZ, so you're at 10. He said, oh, I found another attorney who said he could do it for 3,000. I said, well, so why are you still here? Like, if I were you, I would go. If you felt, he said, oh, but I talked to him and I just didn't feel comfortable with what he was telling me. I said, okay, so again, so you didn't feel comfortable with what he was telling you. You like me, but I'm supposed to charge what he charging. I tell him, you get what you pay for. If you go on DH Gate, you can get a Fendi bag for $100.
Well, I use that line that you get what you pay for. I used that line very recently. Somebody came to ask me my opinion on something, and I was like, they got what they paid for. Why are you asking me?
Pretty much.
Why
So
you
that
asking?
same guy, you know what happened to him? When I explained to him, hey, this is what needs to be done in your case, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I found an attorney and he said he knows. Okay. Like literally probably like on Saturday, I got a call and the person keep ringing down my phone and I'm like, who is this? Oh, hi, this is his wife and he went to wherever and now he's detained by ICE and now we need an attorney. I said, well, ma'am, okay, well, that's fine, but the pricing for removal of defense starts at $25,000. She said, really? I thought you said it would be 10. I said, that was before he get himself in immigration. Like, that was yesterday's price.
Za?
Like, you can't expect to get the same pricing that you got when your problem was less complicated. And the thing is, a lot of times we tell people, these are the steps you need to take. If you know you have a criminal conviction for something that can get you deported, the first step is really to try to get rid of your criminal conviction. But this person found a lawyer who told him for $3,000 he could help him, who never even touched the criminal stuff. So the moment he went in there for the interview, they were waiting for him.
Wow.
And if he had done what I told him to do, he would not have ended up there in the first place. Because there's a lot of people living in the US now that really not supposed to still be here, but they're smart enough to know not to go and file for citizenship when they know they commit all kind of crimes.
Wow. 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 OMG. There's so many things. So many things. So many questions. People send me questions.
Oh Lord.
They have questions, immigration questions, and I essentially I'm gonna tell them they need to reach out to you because I feel like every situation, like for example, is different. Somebody just sent me a message. Can someone with a US visitor's visa get married in the US and go back home right after? Um
Well,
and
those general, like pretty much, yes, you can. You can do whatever you want to do. We all have free will, right?
does it slow down their paperwork process or does it speed it up?
Huh?
Like I know for Canada it's the reverse. So if you go, it happens faster. Like if you're not in Canada, like if you get married in Canada and you leave and you go back to your country, it happens quicker. Rather than if you stay because they figure, oh, you're there, you're already in the system, they're
Well,
gonna.
for U.S. immigration, there are two distinct processes. So for us in Dominica, we go to Barbados, right? We
Mhm,
go in the embassy.
mhm.
So when you leave the country, you're gonna process through the consulate, which means once your I-130 is approved, you have to go through the NVC, submit your tax documents, blah blah blah, and then they give you an interview to go to Barbados. Now that can take anywhere between, if you're an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, probably like 1 to 2 years.
Mm.
If you're inside of the US, it probably can take the same 1 to 2 years. But in recent times, they've been waiving a lot of interviews and there have been, you get a work permit and a travel document, so it doesn't really matter how long it takes because you're able to work and you're able to travel. So it just really depends on your situation. The thing is, it is fraudulent to come to the United States with the intention to get married to get married and stay. Now if you come to the US on a visitor's visa, and while you're here you decide, or maybe you're already married, but when you get here, you decide, you know what, I don't want to live without my spouse. I want to just stay with them. That's not fraud. It's it's an intent thing. And somebody asked the other day, how are they gonna know what I intended to do? I say, well, they're gonna look at your conduct to determine whether or not that's what you were doing. But realistically, only you know what your intent is. But that's why I do not do consultations with people who are outside the US who tell me they want to get married. Okay, when you come into the US, you don't have to pay again. But when you inside the US, let's have this conversation. Because by me having this conversation with you while you're outside of the US,
It's intent.
you're plotting with me, and then I can't even file your case if I wanted to because now it's fraudulent. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow. That's enough gems for them. We're not
Yes.
dropping any more bombs. How do people get a hold of you?
Okay, so they can go to my website. It's judelawoffice.com. Um, Very simple website. Or they can call 866-724-5833. Or we have a Facebook page. It is Jude Law LLC. And if they want to send an email, it is info@judelawoffice.com. Now, specifically, I need to say this. Do not send an essay about whatever your case is and expect that I'm going to respond with another essay answering your essay. If you have a situation and you need help, you're better off scheduling a consultation because I'm 500 an hour. So,
She's like, I'm $500 an hour.
and it starts at 500. That's the minimum. So if it takes me 20 minutes to read it, and you have to pay before I even read it. So it doesn't really make sense to send an email that you're going to get an invoice for me to read and respond to you because it's going to take me time to read your email, research your question, and take the time to draft a response to you, which is going to cost you more than the 150 you pay for a consultation. So that is why I tell people it's best to just schedule a consultation because you get one-on-one time. You can ask all your questions. You can, if you have documents for me to review, you can send them beforehand. The most expensive consultations, I know some of my friends charge like 450, 500. I don't charge that much for a consultation because I just feel like if the person already gonna pay you like thousands of dollars, it doesn't really make sense to charge that much. But for me, the average person cannot afford $400, and
The average person with immigration issues tend to not be able to
correct.
afford that amount. And they
Like
still want to figure out if they're gonna if they're making the right decision by choosing you. So
exactly. So I'm okay with the 150. I have Dominican clients. I do more banking. Sometimes, we have different stuff that I do in terms of pricing for Dominicans, but it's not necessarily something that I
publicize. Let's leave it
correct.
at that.
Yes,
Let's leave it at that.
because I have clients from other places, and I usually
Let's
feel
just
like
leave it
yeah,
at that. We say no more. We say no
correct.
more.
So all they
And
have to do is contact me. Then we
mhm,
can go through your situation and look into pricing. And that's why a lot of people email asking how much does this cost. It doesn't work that way because your individual situation will determine how much you pay and how much I charge.
that's good. I love the fact that you give back to your community and you've been doing a lot of that. I remember you donated to ASA's Change for Change, and you've been doing like you're still giving back. You're keeping your price low, but you're still also giving back. Why is that still so very important for you to constantly? Why did you, for example, donate to Change for Change? Let's just use that that scenario.
Because even growing up, I always was told you give to receive. And they always say people with closed hands never get anything, right? So I have always been raised that way. My mom always said that I think I'm a magnet for problem children or problem like I'll always find myself friends with the most problematic person in the crowd because I want to help them. My cousins always joke and call me Captain Save a Hope. So it's like I'm always trying to help and always trying to save somebody. And it's because I know that not everybody is fortunate. I recently offered a scholarship to a young lady from Dominica to go to university. Um, and that's because I went to UVI myself and I know what it's like. And unlike me, she does not have parents that could take a student loan for her.
That is
She,
awesome. And I remember you shared that with me, that you're offering a scholarship. I mean, that is so commendable, Tika, that you're offering. I mean, you've just been doing this for like a little bit of years,
yep.
right? And it's so commendable that you are taking, you see the need, why it's necessary, to do something like that. And I know, like what you say about it, if you don't, you will not receive if you don't give.
And
And
sometimes people need help. A lot of people have pride and they it's like to me when I found out like that particular situation when the person spoke to me, it was the mom. She knows me. She wasn't talking to me to ask me for anything. Honestly, I don't think she even expected me to offer to help. Like she was just talking to me about the situation and she's so depressed because she can't afford to send the child to school and that was just a child's dream. And as a parent, I put myself in her shoes. I say, what if Xander needs to go to university and Xander really wants to go to university, but because of whatever challenges I've had, I am unable to do that for my child. How would I feel? And to go to family members and everybody that you thought would help did not help. And then a
mm,
complete stranger says to you,
mm,
okay, I got it. And like just the gratitude I felt and I just feel like when you give back, God places a lot of things. Like, for example, when I offered that scholarship, like the next day, I got like 4 investor clients. Now, investor clients are the big guns. Like, these people are not gonna be there saying they don't want to pay you a little 25K, you know? So I actually got the money to pay for the entire
yes.
4 years from those next clients that will come in. So it was just I feel like everything works out in its time
Wow.
and when you help people they remember. And I just always tell people I don't want anything in return. You don't even need to tell nobody that I did anything for you. That's why there's a lot of people that I've helped and they will comment on stuff on Facebook, but I will never tell people, oh, I helped this person with that, or I paid for this person or whatever, because
Mhm.
I feel like when I was helped in life, nobody needed to know. It's between me and the person. If the person
Mhm.
feels the need to tell people, they can. Like I have had,
That's up to them.
yeah, like even for me in giving back, I run a group on Facebook for VAWA people who were married to U.S. citizens or permanent residents who abuse them, children of abusive U.S. citizen parents and stuff. I run a group right now. It's about about 3,500 people in that group, and occasionally I would just randomly pick somebody in the group to do their case for free. Now it's based on need, of course, but a vowel case is an $8,000 case. So for every pro bono case I do, that's 8,000 that I don't get back. And for me, I don't even miss that money
Because they
because
go back and they tell everybody, my
yes,
shit got dealt with. And
those
then
are
all of a sudden you get like six,
loyal.
seven.
Those are my most loyal clients, like my VAWA clients. Even in that VAWA group, like these people will go to war for me. Like you see when somebody asks for a lawyer and people suggest other people, oh, my lawyer charged me 3,000, and then you always see them comment, well, you get what you pay for because now you're back in the group talking about your case got denied. So it's like you help people, and in helping people I feel like that just gives me joy. I wish I could work for no money at all because I don't do this for the money. I have to get money because I need to live, but money's not really my motivator for what I do. And I think that's why I get so many clients. And even the clients always tell me that they talk to me and they can see my heart. They can see that I'm genuine. They can see that I'm not trying to, because if I cannot help you, I tell you I cannot help you. I literally had to tell somebody the other day, in your situation, there is nothing God can, like not even God can help you in this situation because of what you dealing with right now. So I'm not gonna take your money and make you pay all this money and file all this paperwork, I can get you a work permit, but then you're gonna end up deported after I get you that work permit. Do you still want it? So sometimes it means
Wow.
having a difficult conversation. It means giving up thousands of dollars because you want to ensure that you don't do anything to put anybody in a precarious situation. And people actually like that about me, that I'm honest. I'm not, if I can't do it, I can't do it. And I tell them all the time, I take difficult cases. So if I tell you it cannot be done, and you find somebody who can do it, and the person tells me their strategy and it actually is something that can be done, I will help you pay for the person to do it. That's how confident I am that when I tell you it's impossible, it's impossible.
Wow. We got to go to the chat.
Yep.
Sarah or Sarah Adamson says, a little insight to Miss Tika Jude. I am a VOWER applicant. Timeline is 5 years from application to green card. She got my green card in my hand in 17 months.
Yeah.
Like she's actually on there. Um, Folks are saying, like McNamara Sherry is saying, you are living by biblical principles. That's exactly why you're so blessed. Tommy's saying a good name is better than riches. It's called blessings, Tika. Good heart. Cause girl, you gonna get it tenfold. When you give willingly, you'll always have. T Bell is saying that. Um, Neva is saying God got you. People are still on the live, like people are not dropping.
They're not
Like,
going.
people want a part two, and it's 9:24, and we've been on here. We started at 7:30. Normally, this show goes. Exclusive interviews tend to be an hour and a half. We've been at it for almost 2 hours. All right, and guys, I mean, Tika, what's next for you? What is going on? What's next for you?
Well, I should tell you what's next. It might be a surprise, but I will be seeing in Dominica sometime next year in a very interesting position that a lot of people don't know about. But it's gonna be a secret, but you guys are gonna see my name on Emo News around this time next year. I
Okay.
can't tell you why, but I'm working on some things right now. I am in the process because my goal right now is I want to step away from my practice for a little bit to focus more on my mentorship. So I'm in the process of hiring, because I have 6 staff members right now. So I'm in the process of hiring another attorney. The reason why I'm taking so long to do that is because I haven't found anyone that I think is competent enough
You
to
want
walk
you
my.
looking for you. Okay, I get it.
Yes,
Okay.
but I'm doing that, and my ultimate goal really is like really want to be an immigration judge. I have a few immigration judges willing to sponsor me. Like I literally just yesterday was in court, and the judge was like, "How many more years you got before I have to sponsor you?" Because she's like, every time I walk into her courtroom, she's just so happy and so proud because she remembers like my first case. I won my very first immigration case, and let me tell you, I won that case probably like 2 months in. I only told the client that he was my first client literally a month ago. He was talking to me, and I was like, I could tell you a secret, right? He said, what happened? And that was a very difficult case. I remember a lot of attorneys trying to help me figure out what to do. And I said, in the end, when I said what I was going to do, they told me it would not work. And then it did work. And I told him, I have a secret to tell you. You were my very first removal case. He said, what? And you now telling me this?
He's like, I don't know that never hire your stunt.
Yep. He told me, if you had said that to me at that time, I would have probably went with someone else. But then he's like, you were so confident, and he was just taken aback. And then the judge, after that, that's why she told me that yesterday. I told her, remember that case? The crazy one? Because I did a story time on TikTok about that case where the guy was a US citizen and got
Yes,
arrested.
I saw that.
That was my very first case. Very first case. And the judge was like, really? I said, yeah. She said, how old are you? You look like a baby. And then I told her, she's like, what age did you when did you graduate law school? I was like, 25. And then she was like, Okay, so you have this amount of time before I need to sponsor you. Okay, hopefully I'm still on the bench until, because you only need to be practicing for 7 years to be an immigration judge.
Wow.
And it was those things that I always tell people, fake it till you make it. Because if I had gone in that courtroom acting nervous, then my clients would have felt that energy. And I walked in there like I knew that what I was talking about. And half the time I go into court, like I know some attorneys sit down and they write a closing argument, and I don't do that. I will, the night before while I'm sleeping, I will figure it out. Because for some reason, every time I wake, I have a difficult problem. I go to sleep and I wake up the next morning and the solution is right there. I wake up like 4 or 5 in the morning and just start writing. I figure it out in my sleep. So usually I don't know what I'm going to say in
You
court
just
until
have
I
a
get
natural talent for it.
exactly. So that's why a lot of times, like, you know, a lot of times, even the government attorneys are like, oh my God, you're an excellent litigator. You should come work for us. I have a lot of law firms right now, like, trying to steal me. But I'm like, I hang my own shingle. So I don't know if I'm going to come under your umbrella. I built my own roof. I built my own hut. So for me to leave my hut and come under an umbrella, I don't know how smart
Lisa,
to be, you know? But I don't think that I do anything different, except I guess I'm just humble. I work hard and I try my best to always ensure that in everything that I do that I leave like a positive impact on people. I try to I don't think I've ever really had a client with like a negative I have no negative reviews, because even if I know a client might be a little dissatisfied about something, or if I know staff may be slacking on something, I step in. And I think that's what some clients appreciate more, because most attorneys, everything goes to the staff, and after you pay your money you never really speak to the attorney. But whenever there's an issue, I always tell them, hey, send me an email. If I have to take over the case, I told them I used to do this by myself. I didn't have no staff for the first 9 months I was practicing. And I used to be sending out like 20, 30, 40 packages a week to immigration
wow.
by myself. So that's why when I need to step out of the role of boss and step into the role of paralegal, get this done, my staff don't understand how I can do an entire marriage based case in 2 hours. I can sit down from start to finish and get it done, because once you know what you're doing, it's very easy. For them, I guess they're second guessing themselves. They don't want me to tell them they made a mistake. So it's taking them a bit longer. But I think what they appreciate most is the fact that I'm able to come down to their level and actually help them with their job without being condescending. I've been told that I'm too nice to my employees, but that's why they're so loyal. I've never really had an employee actually quit. I had one quit, and then she came back like a month later and asked for her job back. And she quit it because she thought I was gonna fire her. I wasn't going to fire her, you know. But they understand that I am understanding. They understand what principles I
You're
want,
human.
how I want them to be with the clients. And I think my team also contributes to my success, because they ensure that everything runs smoothly. A lot of times people tend to think, oh, I am a business owner and I do this and I do that. But for me, my team are my backbone. When I'm in bed, because I don't work on a Monday and a Friday. Thankfully, I'm my own boss and I can make that, I have that luxury of not working 2 days. I only work 3 days a week. And on those 2 days, the office still runs as normal. My staff will still do whatever needs to be done. Cases will still go out. I work from like what, 10 to 3 a day. When I first started, I was working almost 24 hours, really. But I had to take a step back because I realized I was working too much. And as a mother and a wife, there are certain duties that you need to fulfill that you cannot fulfill if you're working on building the business every single day. But my goal always was to build a business to the point where it could function effectively without me. So that's why I put in all that blood, sweat, and tears to get
Mhm.
my business to the point where I don't really need to do too much marketing, because the clients are coming in anyways. Like on TikTok, I have like what, 50,000 followers or something like that, 57. And I just make videos for fun whenever I feel like talking about something. I don't even post every single day. But it's like once you've built a business to the point where it can bring in leads on its own, you're basically in that sweet spot. So I'm trying to balance being a mother, being a wife, completing a PhD, being a business owner, and being an attorney. Like I wearing so many hats right now. It's crazy. But by the grace of God, and mommy, I know you're watching, I am doing it. And, you know, I'm actually happy with where I'm at right now in my life. I know there were times where I wasn't sure where things would go, and when things don't seem to work out, and when everybody's hoping for the next crazy thing to happen. But everything I think is working out in its own way. My goal really is to always, give back to my community in whatever way that I can. And that is basically what I've been doing. That's just my motto.
Your clients are on the live, eh? Like
Oh
how many
Lord.
of your clients on the live? Like they're telling their whole business,
Oh
all
Lord.
their story on the live, and I don't even want to get into it because they're on the live,
No, but
and,
the thing
and
is, that's the thing about my clients. It's like they're loyal. Like,
they're saying you call them back on weekends, you return calls on weekends, you know, if something is like all kinds of stuff, like people are someone saying you're a wizard. I don't like they're just really happy to have you.
I have a St. Lucia client to ask me if I'm a Sukuyan already. So, because I woke up one morning and I just told her, your kid's going to be approved today, Because I don't know. I just woke up and I just felt it in my spirit. And
Wow.
I just messaged her. I said, your kid's going to be approved today. She's like, probably about 11 o'clock. She called me crying. She said, you're Sukuya. You're Sukuya.
You guys are weird.
I tell her, what you mean?
Oh,
Like,
shoot.
how you know my case was going? I tell her, I don't know. I just felt it. Like, I just felt like it was time.
You're so connected to your work and to the people that you help that the energies, the energy is what really moves everything, and
Mhm.
that is so beautiful. That is so wonderful. A lot of folks are on there, and I know you will because you're not one that doesn't miss a beat on social media. So I don't even need to tell you to go under the live
And go and come. Yes.
because there's a lots of comments under the live. I think people they want more. They want not. I think they want more. No, like I know they want more. I know we've spoken offline. Probably you could come in once a month. That was something that way back I
That's
remember.
actually something I was considering, really. Like,
Mhm.
I had already, like, that was something but it's always been like, the production and the this and the that. Like, literally, I was contacted by a company
Well,
today.
let's do it once a month. Call Tika. We can figure it out and ask Tika, and people have their questions. They can send it in, and the one thing that is really good about you is you're very conversational, so it doesn't feel like you're talking to a wall. And I guess that's the personality that you have that really connects people to you. Why they not only trust you, but they choose to leave their money with you.
And then
And
they tell the whole world their business at the end. My client
right.
are very Jael. The thing is, and people have to understand that Dominican culture and the US culture is a little bit different, because when I was recognized and Emo News posted that, I got a lot of backlash from the Dominica Legal Society. Lawyers in Dominica had a lot to say about me, that it was self promotion, it was this, it was that. And I had to explain to somebody that in the US, our rules are
That's
different. So in Dominica, realistically, I never really see a lawyer with advertisements anywhere. And
you're
he
not
told
supposed to.
me
You're
they're
not.
not allowed, right?
Yeah.
But I said, you guys cannot judge me because I'm in a different jurisdiction. So you see my clients telling all their business, this is how Americans are. They don't care because they're like Dominican clients. My Dominican clients, I can bet you now, I don't think any of them under here talking about their case. You know why? They don't want nobody to know that they had a case. They don't want nobody to know they didn't have papers. But it's just a different culture. So that's why with me, my legal fraternity here in the US, they love me. They love my personality. They love, the way I am. But a lot of like the Dominican side of it is more telling me like, oh, you post too much on social media, you do this too much, you say that too much. And I'm like, that's what works for me. This is how I built my business. And I can guarantee you, not many of them in Dominica on my income level right now. And that's
Hey,
the truth. So you cannot
in 2 years.
advertise.
In 2 years.
You cannot advertise, and that's very sad for you. And I feel for you. But this is how I make my money. So I'm not gonna let you tell me, oh, you shouldn't publish if you get an award, or if somebody recognizes you, because that just seems like you're trying to get more clients. I say, sir, Dominicans are not my clientele, because I need people in the US.
First of all, they have to be in the US.
So MO News posting that, I did not reach out for them to post that. People posted it because they saw it, and a lot of people have been following me. MO News was like the first news outlet to even cover me when I was done with law school. They wrote an entire article about me. So when they saw something like that, of course they felt like, hey, this is her again, let's
Mm.
share it. but
As they
people
should.
but people had this whole negative connotation behind it. Somebody said, oh, it's unprofessional that if you get a judgment in court, you on Facebook posting about it. Sir, in my jurisdiction, there are more.
They doesn't watch paternity courts. They
No,
doesn't watch divorce courts. They doesn't
but
watch Judge Judy.
they
They doesn't
don't
watch
get
people's
it.
courts.
I don't
Hmm?
think they understand that, because it's
Like they
like,
think people's court is a show and not
yeah,
a real court.
yeah. And he told me, oh,
It's
in
real
Dominica,
court.
it's frowned. Yeah, he told me in Dominica it's frowned upon, and a lot of people won't really say anything to you, but people are saying this. I say, at first of all, in my jurisdiction, it is allowed. So if I want to post that I went to court and whatever happened in court, as long as I don't name my client and my client consents to me posting, then I can post. And I feel like I needed to say this here for more people to understand, because this was something that I faced a lot with Dominicans, where when I first started, people were going to my mother to say, oh, your daughter, she's unprofessional, she's posting people business on her business page. And I'm like, do they follow any other immigration lawyers? Do they know that there are millions of us in the US, like thousands of immigration attorneys just in my zip code? And the only way people are going to know who I am is if I show them what I can do.
Hello.
As long as you cannot identify who I'm speaking about, then
Exactly.
it is not the client's business. And that's
Mhm.
why, like, when I got that feedback, I'm like, I understand, but you guys are thinking of it from the lens of Dominica.
And again, you are still heavy. You're not one of those who've gone overseas, because there are lawyers who are Dominicans who've gone overseas, who are practicing in the US of A, who are lawyers, but nobody knows anything about them in Dominica because they're not connected to their community.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They throw a big stone when they left Dominica. They doesn't go and mind people business on Facebook. They doesn't comment when people share things. They doesn't like they just migrated and moved on.
But I can understand, Jael. I can understand, because I've gotten a lot of hate.
I
And
know, I know.
I've
But
got
you still stay loving Dominica. You still stay doing what you have to do. Mika was making a comment about, she doesn't understand the premise of this rule about advertising. And Mika, I have one answer for you. They're still under the stupid
common
British
law.
system.
Mm-hmm.
They're still under the stupid, just like the stupid British system that makes people call people sir and mister and this. I don't know why they doesn't wear those white wigs when they go to court. They should wear it.
They just wear the robes. They just
They
wear their
should, but they should put it back. Let them wear the big white
big
hot
wigs on their
wigs
head.
on their head in the hot courtroom and let their sweat come out underneath it. Yeah, that's the end. I finish. I said enough. I love my Dominican lawyers. I love
Yeah,
them.
but honestly, it's just like, when I first started jail, I honestly contemplated, because I had planned to be going to Dominica doing XYZ. And one summer I did go to Dominica. I did some consultations with some people,
I
and
remember that summer. I
yeah,
remember.
but then it's like I got so much backlash from
Wow.
people. Oh, don't hire Mamzelle, Mamzelle unprofessional, Mamzelle posting her client's business on Facebook. If you hire Mamzelle, your business will be on the road. I'm like, okay, in all my posts on my business page about whose case got approved in 2 months, 3 months, do you know who any of these people are?
Nope.
And
And
do you,
you will never know who they are
and the
unless they come underneath the post and say it was me.
but a lot of them will jail, because at the end of the day, these people are so happy and so grateful. Like, I have had families, entire families. I literally have families where I help the sister, then she tell the brother, then she tell the mother. I literally have a family of about 8 people right now that I got all of them green cards in 8 different ways. They were all in different situations, and I found a way to help every single one of them. So now these people, when they see people talking about me, they're gonna jump. because they know what I did for them. They know what I'm doing for their family members. They know what I'm doing for their friends. They know what I'm doing in their community. So that's why my clients are a bit aggressive when it
They are
comes
great.
to
Let
me.
me tell you, they under the life also.
They
At
are
least you
very
all touch a button.
they are very aggressive, and I just wish that I was telling somebody I wish that Dominicans would understand that it's a different system, and I understand that your Dominican lawyers are not a lot. You see, me, I'm a lawyer. I wear purple. I go to court in pink. I go to court in green. I don't wear black to court. I've never
You
worn
go to
black
court
to
in
court.
shocking neon if you have to.
Yeah,
It don't
like this
matter.
suit, I go to court in this suit how many times and nobody blink an eye. I went to court the last time with red hair. Nobody cares. So they have to understand that you
Wait,
just
wait,
have to
wait.
talk.
I had a conversation with somebody, right?
Mhm.
And their response was that Dominicans think that your brain is on your body. Your
Mm,
brain, the brain not in your head, is
it's on
not
your
you're not going in for what's in your head. You're going in for which is why they can't get past some people and some organization will never get past my piercings. They'll never get past my tattoos. They'll because to them, somebody who does communication must
look
be
a certain way.
must look a certain way, must be stiff, must be have a certain look to them, can't have blonde hair, can't have certain things because everything I do is on my face and not in my brain. Right?
I
So,
know. Like even
so
when you dressing to go out, one time I think I posted a picture and somebody told me you're a lawyer. You posting a picture. I say, excuse me, I'm not a lawyer. Let me tell you something. When I'm on my free time, I'm on my free time.
you're a Tamika
So
Jude.
you cannot expect that 24/7 or like what I'm gonna post on my page law. I just gonna go and post excerpts from the law on my status.
You've become a lawyer. That's all you are. You're nothing
No,
else but a lawyer.
no, I tell people all the time, lawyers are people. And in the Caribbean, I know we have this certain expectations about all lawyers. And if somebody says something, because you're a lawyer, you're not supposed to respond. Now I'll tell you about yourself and be just fine after I do it. That's just me, and that's my personality. Whoever doesn't like my personality, you don't have to hire me, honey. I mean, you don't have to hire somebody if you don't want to hire them. And the funny thing is when people tell me, I was so happy I hired you. When I first mentioned you, whoever tell me, oh, don't hire you.
Wait,
Because
Papa, you sound like you're preaching to the choir. Let me tell you.
and then they're like, oh no, no, and look at this, look at how fast my case go. And I always tell people all the time, anybody who says anything negative about me in terms of my practice, ask them, she ever represented you? What happened to your case? Because I know I don't have negative
And
outcomes.
that's all that matters.
If
And
I've
that's
even
all
never
that
represented you,
matters.
then you in no position to talk to anybody about me. Because what are you saying? Oh, I just don't like that girl. She thinks she all. You don't have to like me. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my personality, I guess, is problematic for some people because they feel like I do not have a lawyer personality, whatever that is. That
You're
oh
supposed to be stiff.
oh, I posting too much on Facebook. Lawyers not supposed to have Facebook, and they're not supposed to do
They
this
don't
and
know
they
what's her name.
do that.
What's her name? The one in paternity court. What's her name? When she
Judge
just come on.
Lola,
Huh?
is it Judge?
Lauren. Lauren. Lauren something is her name. When she says, subscribe in 5, 4, 3. The ad breaks. Subscribe in 5. Like she giving you time for you to subscribe.
Yep.
Like subscribe in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for subscribing. I just go low. I just been living. Like,
Yeah, I just
oh
need
my
them
god.
to understand a little bit that what I'm doing, it is allowed by the laws of the states that govern my license.
Mhm.
So don't tell people I just post people business. It's not people business. And the people that my clients that I post about, I just have to delete their comments, Jail. Because they will come under the post and say, yes, it's true, it's me. And I always tell I don't want you to identify yourself. It got to the point where Dominicans were saying that I was writing my own reviews. So it's
Leave
like,
them alone. They'll come
yeah.
home wagging their tails
So
behind
for
them.
me,
Don't even
yeah.
bother yourself. Don't
So for
bother
this
yourself.
goal, I still love my people and I will still always help my people. I just wanted them to understand
Girls,
that this
girlfriend, have a lot of people on the live now. A lot of Dominicans on the live that in the US of, eh? that well happy we have that show, no? Because they're going to be in your inbox like cockroach on cheese. Cockroach has gone cheese on what? Cockroach has gone like suey on cheese. Like and thing they're going to be in your inbox because I mean and people I mean even I had a question for you even before we started,
Mhm.
because people are always on the move. People will always need immigration
Oh, we
assistance.
have a lot of people on the live, Jael. I just look.
Yes, and they're not moving. They're not. They've been there from the get go, and I'm so grateful to them. I want to thank you first of all for coming on and for agreeing to do this. I mean, I asked you a while back. People don't even understand from the time because you started speaking to me about
Something else that we
something
never
else.
talk about.
And then I said to you, well, why don't you come on the show? Why don't you come or whatever? And you had a lot of stuff going on, so you booked this month, more than a month ago in
Yep.
advance. We booked this interview, and I'm so happy that you came on and you were able to share about your story, because a lot of times people see the glory but they don't know the story, and the story, and let me tell you, the story can be touching. You almost you brought me to tears because
Oh,
I felt certain things, really was very relatable to me, and I know a lot of other folks and people are gonna rewatch this and they're gonna be like, oh my god, this she talking to me. People like Samantha, who's on YouTube, who's saying yes, sis, period, sis. We have people on YouTube, we have people on LinkedIn, we have people on X, we have people on Facebook, people too bad too, and they watching. Some watching incognito, some watching and they thinking that we don't know they're watching, but we know they're watching. And some of them are wanting to reach out, and I know they will. I've already pinned your law firm to the chats on Facebook. So I've already pinned that. So if folks need to reach out to you and they're not sure, it's pinned to the top of it. So you can go ahead and reach out to her practice if you have any. You as she said, book a consultation so that you can get stuff, so she can deal with you on a case by case. And don't send no long story. If you want to clip that liquor part, do not send no long story because she might just pass you by. But Tamika, I really want to say thank you again for coming on and sharing with us. I think your story resonated with a lot of folks. I want to congratulate you and commend you on all of your hard work because it definitely is paying off. All of the work that you put out is definitely paying off. I want to tell you and I want to encourage you to continue to assist your community. They don't even understand. They don't even understand. Like people expect sometimes. I'm the type of person though. When I help, I don't talk about it. So that's the type of person that I am. But everybody has
mhm.
their own jam. For me, I will help in silence. Sometimes I tell people, do not put my name on
Correct.
your thing. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart because I want to. Things like my documentary, the proceeds from my documentary go right back to helping the community that the documentary is about. So essentially, I get it. I understand why you do what you do. I love what you do. I love the fact that you're helping people in all walks of life. I like the fact that you're a Dominican woman. I like the fact that you've done it in such a short space of time. I like the fact that you're rising. I like the fact that you're respecting, and I cannot wait for the 7 years to be up for us to
Yep.
hear about Judge Judd. And I say Judge Jude, Judge
Yep.
Jude, Judge Jude.
Yep.
For us to hear about you. And I'm so excited for what you have to come. I look forward to you coming back and sharing again. Again, you always have a home here.
Yeah,
Never.
I'm excited to share because I feel like it kind of humanizes me because a lot of people hear about me, but they don't really know much about me. And I grew
Mhm,
up in Dominica, but like I told, I was never really out there. So a lot of people, even Dominicans, tell me they never seen me, they never heard about me. Like, where you come out? Like,
mhm,
even my last name Jude. There's not many Judes because the Jews are from Antigua.
mhm,
My mom people are Commodores, and there's not many Commodores either. So for me, it's always been a lot of people looking at me sideways because I don't really have a Dominican last name. You know what I mean?
mhm.
If I was a Joseph, it might have been easier because everybody's a Joseph.
Leave my last name alone, okay, bon, bon.
But yes, I'm just happy to share, so people can get to know me and who I am, and know that I'm human. I'm a fun human, very fun human.
You're a fun human, Tika. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
Definitely a pleasure. I'm looking forward to what thank you.
Okay, bye.
Guys, hope you guys enjoyed this. Oh my god, this was absolutely wonderful. I want to big up Tamika. You know, I did pin her stuff, and I know she's gonna go back on the chat. I want to say thank you to all those of you who came on, all those of you who supported, all those of you who shared the live, all those of you who commented, those of you who tagged your friends. Thank you very, very much for your support here this evening. Thank you in a huge way. I'll be back tomorrow. We got Callie on, DR Shara joining us. Same time, same place. Don't touch that dial. See you tomorrow. Bye bye, guys. Have a good night. Be safe out there. Don't do what I wouldn't do. Not sure what that is. Bye bye. See ya.